Brennan said the Steele dossier wasn't part of the intelligence information we had, but now declassified a review last week that Brennan apparently insisted on it. So we talk about that, maybe lying under oath, and then conspiracy. How big can this investigation go, and what are the possible outcomes of it for both Comey and Brennan?
Yeah, look, I think it can get pretty big. What I'm hoping, and I think Ratcliffe kind of set the right tone here, he disclosed documentary evidence, not just opinions, not just political retribution, but here are some smoking guns that show that Brennan, in that instance, was not being honest when he told Congress the Russian dossier was not supposed to be part of the intelligence assessment. So I think at the end of the day, you throw around words like conspiracy, but I think at the end of the day, we're probably talking about a false statements to Congress investigation. The charge is not a horribly complex charge. It would circle around the idea that both Comey and Brennan lied to Congress when they acted either surprised or against the idea of the Russian dossier making its way into these reports. Both of them have a lot to answer for in the court of public opinion, right? They were politicized beyond belief. They politicized their offices. I think you mentioned earlier, Comey had an employee that was there to leak things to the New York Times. So on the moral scale, they're already off the charts. But this is a charge that could be something that comes out of an investigation by the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. And again, it's not that the charge is all that massive. It's just that the impact of having top intelligence officials indicted would be a heck of a day.
Sure would. I mean, he started his summer, Comey, with those beach shells, thought he was cute. This is pretty serious now. Jim, thanks for breaking it down. And obviously the political side of all of this is massive. President Trump riding high, so many wins, Matt, in his second term. And now also with Joe Biden's cognitive issues, it seems that Kevin O'Connor was okay until the White House took back privilege, and he still tried to not answer today. He pleaded the fifth. Comer on the chairman there saying there's obviously something he knows and didn't want to share with us. Tell us about the significance of this. I mean, President Trump has said, between the auto pen, between the cover up here, biggest scandal of our political time.
Yeah, I just want to say, go back to the previous question, Bianca. Donald Trump was accused of the absolute worst crimes. Republicans have been accused of trying to, participate in efforts to change the outcome of elections. We've been called election deniers. The idea that a former FBI director and a former CIA director were involved before an election trying to impact the vote through their official offices. And let me compound this with the FISA investigations, which I know also would include some Trump officials at the very beginning of the Trump administration, the misuse of FISA. And let's bring up the final thing. They actually used these processes to spy on American citizens. There's more than a dozen American citizens who were spied on as a part of this process. My guess is most of them ended up in legal trouble as they were whipsawed by their own government. So I think this is much more serious than just, I do think a false statement to Congress is serious, but I think it's much more serious than that. There was a concerted effort by our taxpayer-funded entities to change the outcome of elections. And when it comes to this position, my understanding is when you take the fifth, you've got to take it on everything. So my guess is there's more than just a few things he doesn't want to relay. He's probably hiding behind this idea that there's HIPAA information he shouldn't have to make public to Congress because there's a relationship between a doctor and a patient. But there was an effort in the Biden administration to conceal Joe Biden's true health status. And that was done, once again, so that the voters wouldn't have the information they needed. If they knew this, they wouldn't be supporting Joe Biden in his reelection.